What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So we are here. We are at the conclusion of the original series via Screambox, The Trouble with Tessa, episodes 5 and 6 released earlier this past week, last Tuesday. Normally I would have done the review already, but I wanted to leave a few extra days between the time the episodes dropped and the time I put up this video, because just in case, I know some people prefer just to binge watch an entire show once all the episodes are released. So I was allowing for that to happen just in case. But, excuse me, nonetheless, here we are, episodes 5 and 6. Now, you all know I've been enjoying this series, been loving this series. Overall going into episodes 5 and 6, solid 4. So we're just going to jump right into the review of these last 2 episodes. So spoiler alert, spoiler warning. I'm giving you all the notifications possible right now, verbally, and if you look down below me, you'll see a spoiler alert icon. So we're going to be getting into spoilers. So as I've been doing, we're going to do a quick recap and run through of the episodes. I'll give a score for each episode, and then at the conclusion of this, since this will be the last video for this series because there were only 6 episodes for this particular show, we'll give an overall score for the show. So episode 5, so titled Alone. So we pick up episode 5 almost pretty much where the last episode ended. So last episode ended, we saw Tessa looking into like this tunnel that was down in the basement after she moved some boxes out of the way, and we were going like away from her into the tunnel. And this episode starts, we're going back towards her from inside the tunnel. Okay, so she's looking through there, and this is just a quick scene. She wakes up the next morning upstairs. House is still in a bit of disarray, because you may remember in episode 4 when she found out from Betsy that they had been listening to her, and she handed her a tape recorder and she played it, and it was one of the conversations she was having with Aaron. The house is still in somewhat disarray. So when she wakes up, she realizes she's back onto this, right? Back onto this like topic. So she starts to think, okay, I need to start looking around for these mics. Like how are they listening to me? So she starts looking in the air vents, and one of the very first air vents she looks into, she finds one of the mics, and she realizes, okay, got to get rid of these. So she starts combing through the house, looking for the mics, looking in the air vents, cutting them, getting rid of them. And ultimately, she makes her way back downstairs to get some things, camcorder, some things to set up like a podium, so to speak, right? That she can set the video camera on, that she's going to use now to track the movements, at least from the window, of Betsy's comings and goings, you know, like, and then taking like timestamps of, okay, Betsy's going here at this time, or she's walking by at this time and coming back at this time, right? Because she knows Betsy lives. I think Betsy lives next door, and we've known that since the beginning. So this all to allow Tessa, after she does this for a while, she passes out, wakes up, hearing this loud noise. Now, I mean, this is a big time jump from the time we see her taking all these notes, doing these recordings in the late afternoon. We do a quick time jump to the evening. Again, she fell asleep, so it's assuming we're just making that jump with her. She hears this loud bang coming from downstairs. She goes downstairs and she sees the wooden pallet knocked over and broken that was used to prop up against where the hole was. And she can hear whatever it is that's in this cave in there. So she starts having a conversation with it, saying, hey, pretty much, I'm on your side, not here to hurt you. Let's set our differences aside. Let's not come at each other. Pretty much is what we're saying. And then next thing you know, something gets tossed out to her. Or actually, no, I think she falls asleep again, which brings us to the morning time. And then when she goes back over to, that's what it was. She then goes back over to the hole that leads into this cave. And right there's a necklace. And when she picks it up, it's the same necklace. I think there was even a little bit of blood on it too. It had the letter A as like a little medallion. It's the same necklace that Freddie gave to his girl back in the video. I don't know if you guys remember, I think it was episode 3 or 4 we saw that. It was the Christmas video that she then gives to, so I think it would have been actually episode 3 because Freddy died in 3, and then we saw the consequences of that in episode 4. So she heads back upstairs, looking outside, sees Betsy walk by, and then thinking, I know Betsy's walking by at like it's 2 o'clock. I may have enough time to go over to Betsy's house for a cup of tea. She wasn't going over for tea, I was just saying. But she decides, which I think this is where we could have used Aaron. This is where we could have used Aaron on the phone saying, don't do that, bad idea. Still think that's like that scene was the best scene. I think it was episode 2 or 3 when she decided to get drink with the town drunk, as Aaron put it. So she decides to grab her satchel, makes her way over there, and on her way over to Betsy's house, she finds her car covered. Obviously, she's relieved to find her car, but she still needs the keys. So she decides to go into Betsy's house, because again, she knows she has a window of time to go in. She eventually finds her way inside. She's looking around, trying to find keys, but guess who shows back up? Of course, this wouldn't be as simple as you think, just going to some crazy lady's house that's practically running the town and feeding people to the Bone King. So Tessa goes in her house, Betsy shows back up, and Betsy immediately goes over to like this desk area where she's got like this set up to listen to what's happening, or supposedly what's happening in the house that Tessa's in. And when she puts the headphones on, she realizes she can't hear anything, like there's just static. But Tessa's literally right behind her, right? And Tessa's trying to quietly sneak back around the door to get out without Betsy realizing she's there. Now, I don't know about you, but I think when you're in a room, or you believe you're in a room by yourself, and you just get that feeling that something is there, someone else is there, or whatever, you tend to then start to look around. I'm surprised they didn't have Betsy like turn one way and Tessa like dive to the opposite direction to get out of her line of sight, right? That would have been pretty interesting. So Tessa then gets around the corner, makes her way. I think she was trying to either get to the front door, but then she looks down the hall and sees this dish, but then realizes Betsy's up and about. Betsy's moving. And when Betsy first stands up, she has this look on her face like, okay, she realizes that Tessa's found the mics, right? She's like, okay, game on, let's do this. Side note, I don't like Betsy. I just don't like her. And you all can go back and check out my trailer review I did on this a while back for this show. I didn't like her then. I knew she was scandalous, and I called it. I'm just saying, I called it. So Betsy's like, okay, this girl's messing with my mics and stuff. So Betsy gets on the phone. I believe this is when she called Robbie. He's the handyman with the limp, to get over there to deal with it. So Tessa wasn't able to get to the dish where these keys were at, wasn't able to get outside. So now again, she's hiding around the corner. Betsy's making herself some tea. I told you, going over to Betsy's for some tea. Then Tessa sees a door cracked open, decides to go in it, not sure if she thought, hey, I'll hide in here until Betsy leaves, realizing once she turns on the light, it's the door down to the basement. So luckily she didn't take a few more steps, otherwise she'd have tumbled down the stairs. So she starts walking down into the basement, where she finds like a treasure trove of things. Just besides like your typical, which I do like this. I did like the touch. So side note, when Tessa gets down there and finds a computer, there's like a shelving unit with like a bunch of like homemade jarred like goods, like food that's been like canned and stuff, Midwestern thing. I thought that was a nice touch to throw in there, because it's kind of like that setting, like what we talked about, like the air horn for the town, what they're really used for, when we talked about in the very first episode, like leaving your doors open or leaving them unlocked in small towns. So nice little touch there. So Tessa gets on the computer, realizes that there is a connection, but it's password protected. She can't get into it. So she continues to look around in a desk, and she finds a drawer full of cell phones, but they're all pretty much either taken apart or they're not working, right? So she finds, though, another cassette tape that she decides, VHS tape that she decides to take with her. It had something written on it, but I can't remember what was written on it, but I know there was something written on it. She goes over to the phone that's down there on the wall. She makes a phone call. I believe it was, if I can remember correctly, I thought it was to Aaron. They have a brief conversation, hangs up the phone, and then she starts to go through. She finds a bunch of manila folders, starts to go through those, and it appears when she finds one in particular, it has a bunch of photos in it. And in these photos, it looks like the pictures are taken at the same like staircase or well where she was standing in episode 1 when the realtor took her picture. It seemed like there were probably like 4 or 5, maybe a little bit more of different people that she had ran into in town, like the bartender and a couple other people that had also their pictures taken. Some had a circle around them, some had a red X through them. She tries to get back on the phone again. Betsy's on the phone. I don't know if Betsy was on the phone or she called Aaron back, but either way, this wasn't a good thing because now they know that she's down, or they know, I'm meaning Betsy knows that she's down there because Betsy is already at the door as Tessa's trying to make her way back up to try to sneak out. And next thing you know, Betsy closes the door, locks it, and is like, yeah, I know you're down there. Yep, you're pretty much trapped. Good luck. And episode 5 comes to an end. So, yeah, I mean, keep in mind, nothing's changed as far as the episode timings on these. They're all pretty much like 20 minutes. So, this one was pretty good. It's really setting the tone and the foundation for how this is going to come to a conclusion. Assuming, again, that this comes to a conclusion. We don't know yet if this is going to be a one and done or if there's possibly an opportunity for a season 2, but right now I'm approaching this as like just a limited series. So this is really setting that stage of a final conclusion, a final like showdown, so to speak, like what's going to happen between Tessa and Betsy. So episode 5, 4. I give it a solid 3.5. Could give it a 4. Now, where the series stands as of 5 episodes before we get into number 6, still a solid 4 for me. That hasn't changed a bit. Now, it's a matter of where does it go now from here? We have 1 episode that we're going to cover real quickly. Where do we go here? Does it remain at a 4? Does it possibly get to a 4.5 in my view? So, now we move on to the final episode, which is part 6 called Troubles. This one was a little bit longer. This one was 24 minutes. I say a little bit longer because, I mean, yeah, it was 4 minutes longer than the others, which rightfully so. I mean, you think 4 minutes, what does that entail? But hey, when you think about 4 minutes in a typically 20-minute episode, that's a lot of ground you can possibly cover. So episode 6, part 6, Troubles, kicks off where again we get a good recap of what's some key points and hits of the previous 5 episodes to bring us where we're at in this one, especially how the last episode ended with Betsy closing the door, locking it, and pretty much saying, yeah, you're stuck down there. And we already know Betsy's already previously called Robbie about the microphone situation not working in the house that Tessa's in. So where this episode 6 picks off, we take a few seconds back where we see Tessa walking up the stairs, okay? And we see the door closed, we see the lock, we see Betsy pretty much saying, I think she says, I found you. And then she tries to rush back downstairs to get on the phone, and then that's when she hears Betsy on the phone talking, I assume to Robbie, because I think that's where she said we need to feed her to them or something of that nature. Because soon after that, and I originally thought it was Robbie, but then, and I think it was Robbie, but then when the next scene happens, it makes me believe it had to have been somebody else, and I don't know who, because literally within seconds, she's coming downstairs with Robbie. So I'm not sure who she would have been calling other than him, and we know they don't have cell phones. Because really, through the rest of this episode, no one else really shows up to partake in the events. So when they come downstairs, he's walking towards her, knowing that, okay, I gotta, get her, tied or whatever. She throws down that folder of all those pictures on the ground, but one of those pictures was him. And in that picture, I think it had his wife, and I want to say there were 2 kids. I think there were 2 daughters. His face had a circle around it, and the other 3 had X's through them. And the bartender's picture also had a circle around it. So I would assume then if you had an X through your face, you were fed to like the Bone King or the monsters. And if you had a circle, you were safe, you lived, and you are now living in Lowry amongst Betsy's, among Betsy, right? I mean, this is really Betsy's world. All right, so he sees this picture and he picks it up, and you can tell it hits him a little bit, right? You can see it on his face, but Betsy's standing over his shoulder like she doesn't care. Like she's just wanting Tessa dealt with. So we move on to like the mid start credit where we get the episode name. They've got Tessa like tied with some type of like a wire or something with her hands in front, like not full, like not a handcuff, but like they're like claps like this, like with a wire. So he's having to, she's pretty much telling him, hey, take her out there, pretty much leave her, let her be had by the monsters to be fed. So as they start to walk out there, Tessa turns around and is like giving him a look, and he just nods at her like go, like go. And she takes that as like, okay, she's, he saw the picture, it impacted him, it affected him, he's feeling bad, like go. He doesn't want the same thing to happen to her that happened to his family. Tessa takes off running, starting to get dark. We're about a quarter of the way through the episode. Now she comes across like this broken down tree. Now this is probably one of the best scenes in the entire series. Kudos to the makeup artist, whoever they are, that did this scene. So when I said it was like a wire that was used to keep her hands together, because initially I thought it was a zip tie. But when we see this scene, when she tries to get it off of her, like to uncuff herself, so to speak, she comes across this broken tree and she puts like the part of the wire on it, and she pauses, and then that's where you can see it's shiny. So now it's some sort of piece of metal or steel. So she stands there for a moment, like almost like is preparing herself, and she then starts to pull, and this wire digs down and then all the way up like her entire hand, peeling off all the whole layer of skin off her hand. And it looks so real. I mean, no CGI there. That was practical effects that they used, but it looked very real. Like that's what you would expect if you would have done that with whatever that material was that she had on her wrist. So now Tessa's wounded, getting a little dizzy, trying to keep her composure. She's in a lot of pain. But she's still in the woods. It's still getting darker, right? So you got to think at some point this air horn's going to come off. The longer she runs, she comes across that cave entry. Now, if you remember this cave entry with like the boulders around it, it almost looked like a mining cave, like an old mining cave. We saw this at the very first episode. It's kind of like how we were introduced to the show. So she sees this, starts to walk up to it a little bit, and doesn't do anything, hears something, but then decides, for some reason, I don't know, this is where I got a little, not lost, but a little like, what's going on? She doesn't keep running. She goes back to the house that she's staying in. It's dark now. She goes back to the house. The door's open, meaning like unlocked. She walks in, and wouldn't you know, we obviously know who's going to be there. It's going to be Betsy and Robbie waiting at the top of the stairs. He has this look like, why didn't you run? Why didn't you get away? And now he's realizing he has no choice, takes her down to the basement, ties her up to this chair in front of the entry to that hole into that cave. Now, keep in mind, I'm sure this is how a lot of other people have been fed to the Bone King, so to speak, because we've seen the newspaper clippings and articles where it told everyone in town to lock off and close off your basements. So Robbie gives her a hug, and it's like, hey, it's gonna be quick. Don't be scared. Whatever. He dismisses himself, and Betsy's like, come back in the morning to clean up the mess. So Betsy stays down there, found the tape in the satchel that Tessa took, the VHS tape, and she's like, this is your last meal. Puts it in for her to watch it, and it's a tape of Freddie and his wife or fiance I'm not sure if they were married, to be honest. I think they were just engaged. And this is when she's approached in the home, not just by Robbie, but by Betsy as well. And this is where we learn how Robbie got the limp, because he got stabbed in the leg by her. And so that's how he gets the limp. And she, again, remember, she wanted to leave town. And Freddie had every intention, or he was telling her they were going to leave town. But she knew, well, your mom's not going to let that happen. And he's like, no, I'll tell my mom what's up. We're not living by her rules anymore. But this is where we see that gap of time between the Christmas video and what's ever happening here, while she's fully along pregnant now, being told by Betsy, you're not going anywhere. Freddie shows up, and then Freddie pretty much gives in. Pretty much like, yeah, we're not going anywhere. And rather than stay, or rather than allow them to have her baby, this is where she takes the knife and just stabs herself right into the stomach. Blood. I mean, we see blood everywhere. We see her collapse, and this is all being videotaped, because remember, she was videotaping everything. So this is how we're seeing all this happen. It's like from a found footage perspective. So she falls to the ground, and it appears that she dies. And Freddie picks her up, leaves like the room or wherever, with the knife still in her. Betsy and Robbie have a brief conversation, and Betsy sees down that the video camera is recording, obviously gets the tape, and then now we're back with Tessa and Betsy. I thought she died. I have every reason to believe that she died. But this is where it gets a little tricky. I'm a little confused. So Betsy and Tessa have a little bit more of an argument. Betsy's freaking out, like, whatever. So Betsy puts Tessa, as she's tied to the chair, right in front of the hole to that cave, saying, you're dead, you're gone, you're done for. The Bone King's coming for you. So now we see, and I can't remember her name was Angie, and I do apologize, I just can't remember Freddie's fiance's name. But we start seeing, not a flashback, but as Tessa is like pretty much accepting her fate, like she's going to die, she closes her eyes, and we see, like, I'll just use Angie, because again, I can't remember her name. But then we see like these flashbacks of Angie, Tessa, back and forth, like accepting their fate. And as soon as we get probably like 2 or 3 shots of that, we hear something, Tessa looks down, and the Bone King has come through the cave and has attacked Betsy, and is just right in front of Tessa, is just going to town, kills her. Bone King comes up behind Tessa, and you think, okay, Tessa's gonna get it too. No, they cut the ropes or the ties from Tessa to free her, and then the Bone King like bows to Tessa, like kneels down at her feet, and Tessa then removes the crown from the Bone King. And when the Bone King looks up, it's a woman, and I can't tell by looking at the face, because half the face was covered by her hair, and the other part like this white makeup, and it looked like a normal human, but with the crown on, it looked like a monster. Like the crown does something, like some power. She looks up at Tessa and then looks back down. I can't tell if that's Angie, or I can't tell who it is. For a moment I thought, is this just like a representation, like Tessa's seeing herself, and this is the actress that plays Tessa, just looking different, longer hair and everything, like it's a reflection of herself, and that's just what every person sees as the Bone King. It's just a reflection of themselves, or it's someone completely different. I couldn't make it out no matter how many times I rewatched that scene. So Tessa puts the crown back on. They stand up, and the Bone King drags Betsy's body. Yes, win for everybody. Drags Betsy's body into the cave that's in the basement, and then Tessa jumps up, gets the wooden plank or whatever I called it before. Now it escapes me. Puts it up against the wall, and we hear Betsy just getting eaten. And we see at Tessa's feet the blood splatter and everything happening, and the blood running out. And that's where we come to an end. I mean, the night ends. Tessa wakes up the next morning next to the dry pool of blood where we saw Betsy's body dragged into the cave. Tessa walks up. Tessa leaves 2 batteries down, because you remember in one of the previous episodes when the Bone King tossed the little dictaphone. Tessa knew she had to get batteries, so she like left the batteries as like a sign. Still not fully sure what the symbolism is besides what I just described, but she sets the 2 batteries down, and then scene, show over. So that wraps up the whole show. That wraps up the episode and the show. So this episode 4.5. And I give it a 4.5 just for the simple fact, not just, let me take that back, because overall the episode was great. But the big win for me was Betsy got hers. I didn't like Betsy from the trailer, and it's nothing against the actress that plays Betsy. I want to make that clear. It's nothing against the actress. I think the actress plays the role great. It's the character that I was like wanting something to happen to, and I'm glad she got hers. I'm glad she got her just desserts, that's for sure. So, yeah. Now, they left this wide open, though, in my opinion. I think they've left this, the creators of the show left the door open to say, could we do a season 2? Could we do a potential like movie where we do, instead of 6 episodes, we just do like an hour and 20-minute movie or something, right, as like a season 2 or as a follow-up, right? I think the door is wide open. I think there's a lot of unanswered questions, especially with the Bone King. Who is she? Again, I couldn't make it out. What happened with Tessa when she just walks upstairs, leaves 2 batteries? Then what? What happens? Who's now taking over Lowry? Betsy's gone, because not everything is going to go back to normal. There's going to be somebody else there that's going to pick up the mantle that Betsy's gone, right? So this episode 4.5, love the episode. As far as the show goes, for me, I like these original ideas. I like it when it comes, especially in the horror space. I like original ideas. I like seeing new things come up. And this one being that it was only 6 episodes, 20 minutes each, I think they covered a great story in that small, and I say small amount of time, which I'm sure for those involved in putting this together, it wasn't a small feat. So I'm not dismissing that aspect. It's just 20 minutes is not a lot of time to tell a story in each episode, and I think they did it very well. I give this a solid, the show 4.5. I think this show now is available through Apple, and for like a digital purchase. I believe it's also available, and I can check real quick. I believe it is available through like Amazon Prime if you wanted to. Let's see here, The Trouble With. I think it's available through Amazon Prime if you wanted to purchase it. Yeah, so you can. So you can purchase it as well. So this would be a series I would easily purchase. I'd have no problems, and I wouldn't even. I don't know if they have any plans on doing a physical release of this, but I feel that it's one of those stories or shows that's very unique, very original, that doesn't come along that often. It's not your typical everyday rinse and repeat type horror show. Very, very nice true crime, horror, suspense type documentarian storytelling. So done very well. Really enjoyed the show. I'm glad we with this one that we were able to get through and do reviews for each episode that they laid out for us over the past 3 weeks, because they did do 2 episodes per week over a course of 3 weeks. So again, wrapping this one up, The Trouble with Tessa. If you haven't seen it, if you have Screambox, check it out. 6 episodes. It's an easy watch. It's a great watch to get through. But again, you can also check it out and buy it through Amazon Prime. And I think, again, you can buy it through Apple as well. So solid 4.5 out of 5 for me. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you thought if you've watched this series. Let me know what you thought about the last 2 episodes. If you haven't, check it out. I think it's definitely well worth it. And if you haven't done so already, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Otherwise, we'll see you at the next one. Later.